So I'm planning to drive a car across the country using nothing but biodiesel. So the idea is starting in Northern, which is about here, and drive over to Canberra, which it's about, or it's almost exactly 4,000 k's to travel to Canberra, and I will be going through Melbourne. Now, I have not been able to get the amount of biodiesel I wanted to get. I've only been able to get about 260 litres of pure biodiesel. It will be mixed in with regular diesel, as this is what I always do with the biodiesel, so that the diesel has some cleaning products in. Because if you run pure biodiesel, over time it will clog up your injectors even if it is properly filtered. So I'm going to be mixing it probably maybe 20 to 80, so 20% diesel, 80% biodiesel. And that should get me, in theory, to Melbourne on nothing but biodiesel. But due to wanting to go the whole way to Canberra on biodiesel, I'm going to have to probably mix later on maybe up to 50-50 ratio of diesel to biodiesel, but it will still be driving across the country on biodiesel. My vehicle is a Sanion Ute, which is powered by a Mercedes diesel OM602. That car from factory is claimed to have a fuel consumption of 9 litres per 100 kilometres. So if that were the case, it would take me 300 litres exactly to get to Melbourne. And to get to Canberra, 360 litres. So I'm going to have to mix it down a little bit because I was unable to obtain enough biodiesel. To drive across the country from Northern, where I'm located, to Kalgoorlie, that's about 500 k's. Then going to Norseman, which is here, that's another 190 from Cal. Then I'll be heading over to Eucla, which is here on the border, and that is another 710 from Cal, but all up from Northern, that's 1,000 k's, almost exactly. From then on, I'll head to Port Augusta, and that's another 960 from the border. I'll be going to Adelaide. I have to stop in Adelaide and drop a few things off. That is another 310 from Port Augusta. Then after that, I'll be going to Melbourne, which is 730 kilometres from Adelaide. And from then, I will be going to, all up from Northern to Melbourne is 3.4 thousand kilometres. And then after that, I'll be going to Canberra, which is 660 k's from Melbourne, and overall 4,000 k's across the whole trip. So, has anyone ever driven across the country on biodiesel? It has been done before, from what I can find out. Someone rode a motorbike across the whole country in 2014. I cannot find out if anyone has ever driven across the country on biodiesel in a full-size motor car. So I might be the first to do it, but I'm not sure. Chances are someone else has already done it and just not told or not publicly done it. So the plan of this trip, it's going to take maybe a couple days. So the plan is to leave Northern on the 10th and get to Canberra on the 20th of February 2024. Will this happen? Only time will tell. But it should be interesting. The car might not even make it. For all I know, the motor might blow up. It might clog the fuel pump. If the motor blows up, I'm going to sell it in whatever town I end up in and, I don't know, catch a bus back or something. I don't know. Hopefully it will make it. I'll be stopping over in some cool places along the way. Whoever's watching this movie will get to see some of the amazing sights Australia has to offer, which I've never seen before. I've never gone across the country before. So in the early days of Australia, they had something called reliability trials, where they would trial cars, which at the time were experimental and new, by taking them on crazy long distances, and they'd write about them in the newspaper. Like someone would say, I'm going to drive from Perth to Melbourne, or I'm going to drive from Perth to Adelaide, or Adelaide to Sydney, or Melbourne to Sydney, or something like that. And back in these days, like the cars would get heaps of flat tyres. The cars were very experimental. This is like 1900s sort of thing, maybe even to 1910s. And Australia was not full on east-west crossed up until the 60s when the Leyland brothers did it full on longest distance, as in furthest point of west coast to the furthest point in east coast, which is Byron Bay. But this is going to sort of be like one of those trials. Take an experimental car across the country. I don't know what's going to happen. It might blow up, it might not. I don't think it's going to blow up. It's got experimental fuel. All the fuel I have made myself from things you can get from local pubs and fish and chip shops and cafes, things like that. It's chip oil mixed with a few other things. But yeah, it'll be sort of like an old style reliability trial. Obviously it's not going to be as crazy as that because it's all paved, and back in those days everything was unsealed, and now it's all sealed. It'll be easier, and there's all these road houses and places you can stop along the way. It's a lot easier than that, but it's still probably one of the more adventurous things you can do in a motor vehicle these days in 2024, with the exception of, say, going to Great Central or something like that on biodiesel. It's a very sort of controversial thing. People either think it's cool or they think it's dumb, and people don't seem to not care. They always have an opinion, which is interesting. I think it's cool, but a lot of people think it's dumb. But not everyone. A lot of people think it's cool as well. It's sort of, I don't know, probably like 60% of the people I've told about think it's cool, and about 40% think I'm just absolutely stupid. So I might be stupid. This will find out. If it doesn't make it across, then I am stupid. If it does make it across, then it's not stupid, or maybe it still is stupid and it just by some fluke actually worked. We'll find out. So this is the vehicle that'll be taking the trip across the country. SsangYong Musso, powered by a 2.9 litre Mercedes OM602 diesel, turbo diesel. This car has been driven on biodiesel for a fair amount of time at this point, and as you can see in the rear, in the tray, there's a 44 gallon which has been filled up with biodiesel, which I've already made and filtered, so it's ready to go. It will be along the way mixed with regular diesel. And also some extra cans of biodiesel. The tank is also filled with biodiesel. It will be carrying a lot of extra weight, so the claimed fuel economy will probably be less than it usually is. However, it will probably still be a lot less than, say, towing a loaded car trailer, where it uses a lot of fuel. It's actually pretty good at towing this car, even running on biodiesel. Inside, the car has been modified for the month or so by removing the passenger seat and adding in plywood. So basically that piece there sits down on this, and the bed folds down. Now the car's got a 5-speed manual, loads of food and just regular camping stuff, plus all of my sister's stuff, which is what I've got to take to Canberra, and a guitar. 20 litres of spare water, either to drink or for the car to drink, depending who needs it first. Two spare tyres, other ones under the tray. Just the usual long distance driving stuff. Some good road maps, which I just picked up at the second-hand shop. Yeah, one of them was $1 and the other one was $5. Car has been modified and it will have curtains. Yeah, will it make the distance of 8,000 kilometres on biodiesel? Probably. Everything about the car on the outside, with the exception of a few modifications, is standard. This drum alone probably weighs about 200 kilos. One stupid thing about the design of these SsangYongs is the rear diff sits so far forward on the tray that all the weight sits behind the rear diff. Oh, this car doesn't have power steering either, so it's slightly heavy steering. It's not too bad. I wanted to paint the car, make something nice down the side, but I ran out of time. I've also brought along a whole lot of extra filters, about 4 filters. The biodiesel puts a lot of contaminants in the fuel, so it goes through filters a lot. I filter it before I put it in the car, but it still needs a lot of filters. I buy in bulk from America when I buy parts in bulk from America, so they're dirt cheap. They cost a lot more in Australia. So Sam, you work at the Grass Valley Tavern, you are the manager. What do you think of driving a car across Australia on homemade biodiesel?
I'm excited for you, Matt, that you've come up with this adventure and endeavour to prove the viability of using biodiesel to travel any distance, and in this case a long distance. We've been really happy to sponsor you in taking our oil and converting it so that you can use it for this journey, and we wish you all the very best, and we can't wait for you to get home and tell us all your stories. I think with the economy the way it is, and people not being able to afford, in some cases, basic living, I think they'll be forced to do this. I think the negative of it is the downside, and making sure that they're aware of the on the engine, the impact on the engine, and the cost down the line, so that they don't put themselves in a position where they might save $1 now, but they might incur greater costs down the line, and they need to be able to plan for that. But it'd be fantastic if they understood that and embraced it, and then each household can be self-sufficient. The weather that we are enduring at the moment, up to degrees of 46.1 in Northam last week, and we're heading towards that again. You're heading across the Nullarbor and you'll be encountering 50 plus. How does that work in with your biodiesel? Does that have any impact on the efficiency?
Well, the hotter the better, because the hotter the heat is, the thinner the fuel becomes. So this is the best time of year to be driving across the country. If I lived in Canada or something where it's absolutely freezing, it'd be a lot harder. It might not even be possible to do it in this car, because the fuel gets a lot thicker at like negative temperatures, and even if it was 10 degrees, it'd be a lot more work for the fuel pump. This car's got mechanical injection, so it's still a very simple open fuel pump. A modern vehicle which has like common rail would be a lot finer. 10 microns this one runs, but a lot of modern diesels can be even 2 microns. So the thinner the fuel, the more modern the car in general, the harder it is to run this stuff.
And what is the model of this car that you're driving?
This is a SsangYong Musso. It's fitted with a Mercedes OM 602 6-cylinder diesel, or 5-cylinder diesel, sorry. And yeah, not a very common car, but it has proven to be reliable, and it has been running on biodiesel for the last couple of months.
And does the car have a name yet?
No, the car doesn't have a name. Do you want to name it?
Ah, here's a chance. Here's an opportunity
To be on record.
Yeah, be on record. I don't know.
It's got to be a girl's name.
A girl's name?
It's got to be a girl's name.
Oh, I love it. Alrighty. Annie?
Okay, Annie it is.
Annie. There you go. Annie it is. All right, Annie. Well, we wish you luck with Matt going across the Nullarbor. We do want to know, will Annie be providing you with air conditioning?
No, Annie has no air conditioning.
Oh my God, is that because of the biofuel you're
No,
using?
it just doesn't
Oh my God, where is your head, Matt?
It also, Annie does not have power steering either.
Does she have pedals? Does she have a steering wheel?
Yeah, it's three pedals and a steering wheel. All you need.
Great, but no air conditioning.
No aircon.
All
It's
right.
got electric windows.
Woohoo! All right, I would have gone for the option of air conditioning over electric windows, but that's okay, that's just me.
This is the location of the rabbit-proof fence, which is the longest fence in the world, which was built in 1901. And behind is the longest pipeline in the world, the C.Y. O'Connor pipeline, which was built by C.Y. O'Connor, and he went to the beach and killed himself on a horse about 3 weeks before the pipe started work, and at the time it was the most expensive project ever undertaken by the Commonwealth. So I'm just out there, I've covered about 250 k's so far, no worries with the car. It runs beautiful, you wouldn't even know it's running on biodiesel. So over here, this is like a ghost town, used to be a town. There's all these like cactus succulent plants, which are really big. There's like a truck loading ramp over there, and C.Y. O'Connor pipeline. There's a truck over there too somewhere, an old truck. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Here is a derelict house. Gonna find out what's inside. Hopefully not just asbestos. And there's a petrol station. This is just on the side of the highway. It's like a sort of ghost town with only one house and a few remains of other houses. So, will it be haunted? It's disgusting. Oh, it's like a full meth house. Yuck. Okay, leaving Coolgardie. I spent the night here. On my way to Kalgoorlie. I'm going a long way because I want to go through Kalgoorlie. The easiest way is to go right there. But where's the fun in that? I'm going to go the long way. Way out the back of Coolgardie, around the turn of the century. That's a Cold Chisel reference. So this is currently about 25 k's north of Norseman, and here is a massive salt lake which I forget the name of, which I just drove past a sign which said the name of it, and the railway runs down the middle, and you can see the further it goes, it's so far away the horizon mirrors itself, so when you look long enough away things will mirror themselves. I don't know why. My sister knows all about this. She'll love this. See how far I can zoom in on the horizon. It's the horizon. Truck's going fast, and there's the ute, still running on biodiesel, homemade fuel. Hasn't broken down, hasn't had any problems yet.
Man, I'm just fucking waiting for a mate down here.
So this truck came the whole way off the road and hit another truck and made a whole path right through the scrub. So this car has jumped off. This is how to make lunch when you're on the road. You get a can and you just crack it so it doesn't explode and build pressure up. And then just put it in there. And go for a drive, and after a few minutes it'll be ready to eat. And that is how to make some really nice engine brake cooked tin spaghetti. So it's not what a chef would make, but it's really good for, you know, making stuff without having to go to the effort of getting out the gas cooker and setting it up and all of that. You just put in the motor and it's good to eat. So cheers. Tastes good. So this is how you refuel it. Has a pump there. That's the refrigerant release that goes to the motor, battery, it's got to connect. At the 90-mile straight, which is Australia's longest straight road, which is pretty cool. 90 miles dead straight. I haven't done it, I'm just about to do it. But yeah, I won't need to worry about not having power steering for the next 90 miles. Oh yeah. I should have got the tripod. Just buried under all the shit. I gotta cut that out. So I forgot that the sun sets later because I've got a lot further over east. I'm still in Western Australia. So the town I was meant to make it to, which I forget the name of yet again, started with a C, I was unable to get there because the sun has set already. So camping on the side of the road in the parking bay. But that's good because it's free. So yeah, today used 1.5 tanks of biodiesel, and we'll hit the border tomorrow. So this is what I've done for the temporary thermostat issue fix. It might work. In Canada and places where it's really cold, they block off portions of the radiator. Not something you should have to do in the hottest continent in the world, in the hottest part of the hottest continent in the world, at the hottest time of the year. But with a thermostat jammed open, it takes forever to warm up. So when it warms up, I'll just take it off. But yeah, let's see. If it works, it might just rip the rag off. It's wired up with fencing wire. This is Australia's largest windmill. It's 35 feet across in diameter, so that's about 10 metres or so. Yeah, it was in Penang. They've got this windmill collection. They've got all these other windmills too. So someone is a big fan of windmills. Yeah. It was originally used on a railway line, this big one, according to the sign. I haven't read the signs on the little ones. But yeah, it's pretty cool. That's my biggest fan. It's a terrible joke. Yeah, there's a very tall one there. I don't know if that's the tallest one, but it's pretty cool. So I have made it to Ceduna, past the Nullarbor. Here's the airport. Car has had no trouble crossing the Nullarbor, so I'm pretty happy with that. So Port Augusta today, maybe even Adelaide. Let's see what happens. About, I don't know, 50 k's out of Ceduna. Pulling over for lunch. One thing Adelaide, South Australia doesn't have, like picnic tables and bins in their parking bays and rest stops. WA does, so that's one thing Western Australia's got over South Australia. Having beans for lunch today and breakfast because I didn't have it. Yeah, Port Augusta. What's the next stop? Not far. This is the town of Poochera, which has the word poo in the name, funnily enough. And this is called the dinosaur ant, which is meant to be the oldest type of ant that's still alive. Yeah. So apparently they've been around since before the dinosaurs. This one's made out of concrete and steel. And they've got all sorts of old farming machinery around. Which is pretty cool. And I won't video these because you'll get bored to death. But yeah, it's still going good. Don't know if I'll make Port Augusta, might only make Kimber. Got too distracted checking things out. But anyway, this is Peter's Humpy. A Humpy's like a dirt floor house. And it's been made out of old Kero tins around the turn of the century, the 20th century. As you can see, they're branded shell made in Australia, but yeah, they're flattened out and turned into like roof tiles, which is a pretty cool use for old carotins. And that one looks to be made out of 44-gallon drums. I wonder if the same guy built it, I don't know. Inside is an old workshop. Some very old tools and an anvil. Oh, look at the old bellows, I think they call them. Yeah, pretty cool. This is the gate to the old dingo fence or dog fence. World's biggest galah at Kimber, big fiberglass thing. And halfway across Australia. Halfway to Canberra, I guess. I don't know if it means the coast. If so, then more than halfway for me. Big wind farm. That, I presume, is Port Augusta. Still on my way there. This campsite for today in Port Augusta Caravan Park. The most expensive caravan park I've stayed at so far on the trip. There's the mountain range in the background. It's the ute. Still working. Yeah, so Adelaide tomorrow. Probably stay today in Adelaide and check it out. And after that, it'll be Melbourne. And after that, it'll be Canberra. I've got about a third of my fuel left. I'm probably going to have to mix it 50-50 for the last leg because otherwise I'll run out. Currently it's mixed about 25 to 75. Port Perry, Australia's 10th shittest town for still being shit, according to the Shit Towns of Australia Facebook page. It's a joke. But yeah, I'm almost at Port Perry. And this is the road from Port Augusta to Adelaide. Car's still running good. Here's Loch Ness Monster, made out of tractor tyres. And this lake is about 150k north of Adelaide, Big Salt Lake. There's also a goat's head, which probably got killed from being hit on the car by a car on the highway. The highway's just up here. These plants here you can actually eat. They're good bush tucker. You find them near salt lakes. So yeah, have a bit and eat it. Does not taste as nice as the ones you get in WA. No way. That is very... yeah. The ones in Western taste a lot better. But yeah, good okay taste. You can eat them. So, here's another Loch Ness Monster. Made out of... I can't see what it's made out of. Probably tyres like that one. Lake has the funniest name. Lake Bumwanga. So this is Port Adelaide. Same place as Port Power. Footy teams from. Okay, so I was running low on fuel and I had maybe about a third of the drum left. I'm only in Birdwood, which is half hour out of Adelaide, and I've still got 1500 k's to go, and I only had a third of the drum, which is about 60 litres, so, plus about half a tank of fuel, so all up 110 litres, 105 maybe. So what I've done, I've cheated,
It's now going to be running 50-50 mix. So I've added regular diesel to the drum, so now it's 50% diesel, 50% biodiesel, as of the tank. So I made it to Adelaide on basically 2080, so 20% diesel, 80% biodiesel, but from Adelaide to Canberra will be 50-50 mix. Just because I've used up too much, I've gone on detours and I calculated I needed 300 litres. I needed to mix like 20%, but it seems to have used too much up. So I'll still be doing the trip in biodiesel, 50-50 mix. It's still running the car at half cost, but it's not the 2080 that I thought was ideal. The car does, I think, between 8 and 9 litres per 100 k's, which is really good. It has been modified slightly to get better economy, and these big nullarbor trips that got the economy down to real low, because it was just sitting on 95 and just cruising, low RPM. Yeah, it was really good economy. Coming up the hill just out of Adelaide was not fun, very slow. Hydrogen. Biodiesel is slower than regular diesel, and the car's slow as it's come. The car is slow straight off the bat, so it wasn't fast. I had to pull over and let people pass multiple times. But yeah, this drum should now get me to Canberra on a 50-50 mix. Still crossing the country on biodiesel, but 50% biodiesel from Adelaide on. So all depends on the ratio. Ideally, if I could get more, I couldn't, but it is what it is. Let's see what happens. You never get this on camera, but this stuff smells so good when you pump it in. It's like a bloody fish and chip shop. There's a bit of a view of the setup. It's just a little, it was $150 pump online. It's always good to check the oil level with the car every day. So far I've put about 3 litres of oil into the car on this trip, which has been about 2.7 thousand kilometres so far. So that's, I mean, it does leak, it shouldn't use that much, but this is an old motor running on chip oil mixed with diesel, so biodiesel. But yeah, that's almost used. I only had half the bottle in that and probably used most of it up, so I might have to buy some more oil when I get to Melbourne. But that'll probably get me across the country. I've got a few more k's to go, maybe 3 days worth of driving, all up to get to Canberra. Currently staying at Mount Pleasant Caravan Park, and I am right next to a little creek, which is good because it looks cool, but also bad because at night mosquitoes will be everywhere because I'm parked right next to it. But anyway, hopefully they don't come out and there's not many. I bet there'll be heaps, but National Motor Museum of Australia. It's made it this far. Currently at the National Motor Museum in Birdwood, South Australia. There are some absolutely amazing cars here. Coupe 60. Everyone knows about this car. This is the last Holden they ever made. How cool is that? This is the Fairlane from Bush Mechanics. It still exists. Lane Brothers Land Rover.
Within hours after pitching camp, it rained. The heaviest rain ever known at Ayers Rock. It's polar stuff.
I'm currently in Keith South Australia, and here is a Land Rover on a pole. It's a Series 1 Land Rover. It's a bit of a tourist attraction, which is pretty cool. It was put here to commemorate a land development scheme, AMP land development scheme. So I think that's like, I'm not sure if it was developing it for housing or for farmland, but that is the reason why it's here. So the AMP scheme was trying to develop desert into agricultural land, and I guess it worked. They went to the effort of putting Land Rover on a pole for it. These bricks, my grandpa made the mould that made these bricks. So they're all over Australia. They were originally made in Jandakot, Western Australia at Castle Bricks. Victoria! She's made it that far. So, I came from down that way they had Bordertown there, and Bordertown I thought would be on the border, but no, the border is here. As you can see, there's a 100 limit. That's because the state limit in Victoria is 10 kilometres less than than Western Australia and South Australia, where it's all 110. Northern Territory's got 130. But yeah, car's still running good, with the exception of this thermostat, which I'll probably have to fix when I'm in Melbourne, which is okay because there'll be lots of things like car parts in Melbourne, because a big population in Melbourne. Yeah, car's been running good. Got enough fuel, I think it's 50-50. Feeling very victorious now. Only 2 more states to go, or 1 more state and 1 more territory to go after this. South Australia, Victoria, and South Australia, and Victoria again. Yeah. I'm currently in Carniva, South Australia, and they got this painting on the silo, which looks pretty cool, of an eagle. The other good thing, look at that, I don't have to pay nothing on biodiesel. How good's that? You got a roadhouse here, and they also got a painted sheep. $3,000 kilometres so far. Now why the hell would you pay for a powered site at a caravan park when for half the price you can get an unpowered site and use the power plugs in the kitchen? And then you can run your computer and charge it. This is Ballarat. This is one of the first, if not the first place gold was discovered in Australia. I don't think it's the first, I think it's maybe the second or something, off the top of my head. The car has had some troubles. The clutch is starting to be a bit funny, which is not good. And the thermostat is still going really bad. I will fix that in this town, hopefully. If not, Melbourne is only about 100 k's away, so I'll definitely be able to fix it in Melbourne. But Ballarat looks pretty big, so I might be able to fix it here. Clutch, on the other hand, is not cool. But anyway, let's hope it doesn't break, because I don't have the strength to move a gearbox on my own without tools. I do have tools, but not a trolley jack, which is necessary to remove a transmission. Okay, so I've made it to Ballarat, which is about an hour west of Melbourne, and this car has started to have some problems, including the clutch. Luckily there is a Burson's in Ballarat where I'm going to see if I can get a new clutch for it. It is not going to be fun changing the clutch because I'm only one man, and the clutch means you've got to pull the whole transmission out to get at it. But it is what it is. It has to be done because I ain't walking back. What else has happened? Oh yeah, on the way down from the border, the main highway was closed because of a bushfire. so I ended up having to go back roads to get to Ballarat, which wasn't too bad. It was actually alright, because the roads in Victoria are nowhere near as good as the roads in Western Australia. The roads in South Australia seem to be better than the ones in Victoria, but not as good as the ones in Western Australia. Victoria has, in some of the roads, you actually have to pay to use. So the government has actually sold off their roads and privatised them, which is crazy. They're meant to be a bloody progressive government, and they've sold their roads off. Like, come on, that's like, you need to have basic public infrastructure. But anyway, Victorian government sold their roads off, so you've got to pay a toll to drive down the roads. Glad I don't live in Victoria and have to pay their road tax too, because that would be like stupid. But yeah, that's really dumb. But I'm going to have to go into like the police station, or maybe the road board or main roads department, or whatever they call it here, and get a permit so I can drive on the roads before I actually go to Melbourne without getting a massive fine, which is really great considering how shit the roads are in Victoria compared to the other two states I've been so far. But anyway, good thing about Victoria, free train station parking. So I'm parked here at the train station right now, and I don't have to pay anything. In Western Australia, you got to pay. So that's good. Yeah. Get this clutch sorted. Oh, I've got to fix my thermostat too. It's still running cold. I've blocked off more of the radiator. It's now got 2 rags in front of it. But yeah, still getting there. Maybe Melbourne tomorrow, or maybe the day after. Today is Thursday. I plan to be in Melbourne by Friday. It may be Saturday, but that's okay. And then Canberra will be still planning on the 20th. Let's see how it goes. Fuel is still, I still got enough fuel to make it to Canberra, from homemade fuel. It's 50-50 mix, but I still got enough to get there. And there was an Aldi in town, which is really good. So this is a monument set up in Ballarat for, what would you say, dedicated to the people who found gold, or celebrate the finding of gold in Ballarat. That's not real gold, obviously, but yeah, it's got a little set up on top. This is a statue of Queen Victoria, who was the monarch that Victoria was named after, and she reigned for, I think, the longest time of any queen other than Queen Elizabeth. 60-something years. This is the town hall in Ballarat. Clock tower, Australian flag. They're also flying the Eureka flag, which is also the Union flag. Some sort of old, maybe it's like a silo or something, or water tower. I don't know. It's in Ballarat, and they've reinforced the corners with steel because it's probably going to fall apart if they didn't. That's pretty cool. Ballarat Bunnings in Ballarat, right in from the highway. This was the former site of the old Star Hotel, as the story tells you in this plaque. There's a Cold Chisel song called the Star Hotel. I'm not sure if it's about the same one. Maybe. Near this point was the first gold discovered in Ballarat. This was the start of the Australian gold rush, which transformed Australia and turned it into at least like a mining sort of country, with mining as one of the major industries, that and farming. And there's a creek down there. I had a little bit of a look for gold. I didn't find any. I don't have a detector or pan or anything. I have a miner's right, so if I found some I could keep it legally. But I didn't find any. Hopefully I was hoping I'd find enough to pay for a clutch. But no. Oh well, it's all good. You never try. You never know if you don't try, so I thought why not have a try looking for gold. So I've missed a train, but that's all good because there's a bar. Melbourne CBD at Southern Cross Station. Got the yellow Melbourne taxis. Some pretty cool designs for the buildings. Right in the centre of Melbourne. This is Melbourne, the capital of Victoria. This is the King George V Memorial. I've made it here by train. The car is still at Ballarat in the caravan park. It ain't going to make it any further. I'm just going to try to backtrack it. But yeah, this is the Melbourne Botanical Gardens. Currently in Melbourne, Victoria. This is the distillery where VB is made, which in my opinion is the best Victorian beer and one of the best beers of all, but still not as good as Swan. Somewhere down there is the MCG, which is the Melbourne Cricket Ground where all the footy grand finals are. So this is the MCG in Melbourne, which is where all the footy grand finals are and a lot of the test matches. It's basically their main sporting oval. Tonight it is being used for a concert, Taylor Swift concert, her Eras tour. I'm not going to the Taylor Swift concert, but I just so happen to be here on the night. But this will probably be a good end to my attempt of driving from Northam to Canberra on homemade fuel. And I think I'll end it with a Taylor Swift quote, considering Taylor Swift is playing here tonight. Diesel is desire, you were playing with fire. And yes, I was, and the car didn't make it, not due to the diesel, but due to the other problems. But that is going to be the end of this trip across Australia in Victoria.